This is Tim.
And Mulele.
And this is Critiquing Comics. Welcome to Critiquing Comics. This is Tim with Mulele in a park in Koenji in Tokyo. And hopefully this cleaning operation in the restrooms is not going to get too noisy. We got a couple of comics, well, a couple of creators here. How do we break this down? Anyway, let's start with Once Upon a Time in Morningside, written by Sean Michael Wilson and art by Hanna Strömberg. Now, Sean Michael Wilson, he's been on the podcast before. It's been a few years ago now, and he was at Kaigai Manga Festa, International Comics Festival, the first time the podcast covered it in 2013, and then there was a whole episode that I interviewed him on Skype also. This is a comic book of reminiscences from his childhood in, I gather, Scotland. The accent certainly sounds Scottish. So, now, how did you run across this, Mulele?
So this is a part of a series of books put out by Big Ugly Robot, who also put out Elvis. Elvis, I think, was first in the series. We also did the second one in the series, which was, I can't remember the name. I'm terrible with names.
The Tomomi Mooney book?
Yeah. So I think she was the second in the series, and this is the third, and I think there's 6 altogether.
Okay, well, yeah, I know he has this kind of a plan where you kind of subscribe, and every month you get a different book from them.
I'm not too familiar on the details, but being that I was a part of that, he's sending me each book, and so I wanted to kind of review each one. This is my first time to read any of Sean Michael Wilson's work, and I'd never heard of Hanna before, my first time looking at his work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see. Okay. And yeah, it was. I mean, I enjoyed it. I'm kind of struggling for what I want to say about it exactly. I thought it was interesting how it opens with him as an adult, kind of walking through the neighborhood and sitting down in like a park, and then he sort of has like an out-of-body experience where he's going back to his childhood, and in these different stories from his childhood, you see kind of at the beginning and the end the outline of his adult self sort of floating over the proceedings and kind of watching what happened back then. I thought that was a really nice way to kind of frame it. And then, of course, at the end, then when we come back to the present, and he's with his own son. And, yeah, just kind of the next generation.
I kind of felt it was more than just memory. I don't know if it's exactly astral projection or some other kind of thing, but he seemed to be remembering parts, but then the memory itself he would realize other things through the memory, through watching the memory. One of them is that he's no longer in that place and has in fact forgotten how to be a kid, which I thought was actually really poignant part of the story. And also pointing to that when he asks his son, "What do you think of your dad's old neighborhood?" and the son says, "It's okay." That's about right.
Yeah, I mean, nobody else sees what you see in a place that you have such memories in.
But also the fact that when he was a kid, he probably had the same opinion. But now that he's moved on, he has nostalgia, which
the value is increased.
Yeah, well, his son doesn't have nostalgia. His son is present in the moment, and that nostalgia gives the value, not the actual thing, because every kid has this kind of shit. But
someone feels real nostalgia about this park. Probably, we've never been here before. It doesn't mean anything to us. It's just a park in Tokyo.
Well, I have been here just once before, but I wasn't impressed then. I'm not impressed now. So yeah, there's no nostalgia for me. but it's exactly that thing. And I kind of liked it. And it seems that he's okay, both with his son's dismissal of his neighborhood, also with the fact that he's no longer a child. The thing that also kind of impressed me was there's no big event, there's no shocking truth. It's not four friends on their way to see a dead body or something. Although it is kind of reminiscent of that story. Stab on me?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it's just memories that he has from that time that are both important but also minor, I guess. I mean, it's not the first time he had sex or the first time he kissed a girl, or
yeah, it's not huge turning points,
yeah,
right? It's just kind of everyday stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, I think in some small way these events are, as small as they are, in kind of what we consider to be profound happenings in our lives, they are formative. So yeah, I was actually quite taken with the idea of it. The telling of it was a little bit difficult for me, though, because Scottish accents make me feel a little bit lost in writing more than in speech. Because in speech I can kind of understand when it's written that way. I'm like, okay, so how do I pronounce this, and what is the meaning here? It didn't trip me up in the story as much as it just tripped me up in the flow. But you know, it's because I'm a dumb American, and we'll leave it there. But the story itself I found to be quite charming, and there's a certain amount of truth there that I feel from the story, which is nice.
Yeah, the accent part didn't bother me too much. Of course, I spent like a year and a half until last February at a school where there was also a Scottish teacher, so I heard Scottish accent a lot.
Right.
And I could just kind of plug in the way that he spelled the words, like, oh yeah, Scottish accent, okay, a boot, like that.
I thought that was Canadian.
Well, I think the Canadian accent kind of traces back to Scottish accent. Canadian listeners can correct me or not.
All right.
I think we do have some listeners in Canada. Okay, now, when I was at MoCCA, I mean, I've still got a...
wait, before we get to that, I just wanted to mention about the artwork.
We didn't talk about the art at all.
Yeah, so the artwork itself, it's black and white, fairly straightforward panel layout, and it has gray tones. I would say the use of negative space, and there are some panels where they leave out the ground, they leave out backgrounds here and there, but to very good effect. The pacing of the comic, the movement of the characters, the design, everything is very simple but well constructed, well structured. The artist really knew what she was doing when she laid down her work. It's very simplified, or at least it is compared to the work that I do, but one of the things that I have trouble with is where to remove some of the superfluous information. But this person, Hanna, is that her name? Hanna?
Hanna Strömberg.
Yeah, Hanna knew exactly where to cut the crap and just what needed to be there. If I were drawing this scene in the park, I would not know which twigs to draw and which twigs not to draw. Whereas Hanna said, this story's not about twigs. They're all gone. And I didn't miss them. She's absolutely right. So, expertly drawn.
Yeah, and the art's very kind of simple, but not real simple, not so cartoony, and very easy to follow along with what's happening. I never was kind of scratching my head trying to figure out what was happening.
Yeah, it is quite nice.
Yeah. Now, on the other hand, so at MoCCA I picked up a couple of books from A.T. Pratt, and I think I did talk to him on the podcast. You have to go back to the MoCCA episodes back in April. And I mean, as a kind of a gimmick, I mean, it's great for tabling a convention. He's got these pop-up comics. And, you know, it's really eye-catching at the table, have these comics popping up out of their pages, and a lot of people were buying them, including me.
Yeah.
If only because I thought we needed to be discussed on the podcast. And one of them, well, he has this character called Miggy Mouse. Not to be confused with the other guy, or maybe to be confused. Well, no, I mean, the Miggy is very different. Doesn't look like Mickey at all. And yeah, so this book is, what is this book called? PPPPMMHHHSSS. Oh, Pippi Pop Stoppings. That's what it says on inside on the third page. It's a little hard to follow what the title of the comic is.
Well, Pippi had one title for it, and then the storyteller had another title for it. The storyteller, see, the title comes later, and blah, 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 blah. Pop-up, pop-out, Miggy Mouse Horror House Super Secret Special Surprise.
Okay.
PPPMMHHSSSS.
Okay, those are the initials of the title. Okay.
Number 1.
Number 1.
Yeah. I don't know if number 2 is coming, though.
Yeah, not such an easy to remember title, maybe.
There's nothing easy about this book.
No. So it's made out of probably construction paper, yellow construction paper.
Yeah.
2 sheets of it that's kind of folded over into a booklet, and each page was printed in red on one side and black on the other. Yeah. So the outside is black with a little trap door in the front of it that you open up and see Pippi's face behind Miggy's. And then you open it up, and page 2 is red, page 3 is black, and you get to the middle of this. I guess you would say it's an 8-page book, and the middle pops out, and the spread underneath it pops out also. So you've got a pop out under a pop out, and then you can open it up, you know, vertically. Yes, vertically, and there's some cuts and things that are kind of poking in and poking out, and I'll have to put some pictures up on the site or something.
Most definitely.
Because it's kind of hard to describe in audio only.
I think one of the things he's trying to do is, like, when the thing is closed, it's a house looking from the outside.
Yes, but okay. There's like a bay window here.
Right, and you can see Mickey Mouse inside, and then you open it up. You're now looking at the interior of the house, which has stairs going up and down. It's got the bay window still. It's got all this stuff kind of moving around and in between. Though it's actually quite brilliant. The way it's constructed.
Yeah.
The design sense behind it is amazing. I kind of wish that he could pull back the colors just a tad, because my eyes burn. I'm an old man. I can't look at bright red on bright yellow and stark black. It burns my retinas. But
this is happening a lot lately.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the reds. The harsh reds are killing me. Maybe there's a name for that disease, old manitis. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, the story is so jam-packed, and every section of the book is just full of information pertinent to the story itself. So if you miss something, you might get lost, and in fact you just have a tendency to get lost in it and then figure your way out of it. you kind of lose and pick up, and then it all kind of comes together, and it's like, oh, okay, I guess that's what happened. But for me, the book itself, the idea of it, the construction of it, was so genius that I kind of overlooked some of those things. As a project, I really, really liked it.
Right, yeah, the construction is great. I just wish that his art style were a little bit easier to follow.
Well, I think it's just a little overpacked, but
he needs some negative space.
Yeah, it needs some negative space, or it needs a little bit of a graphic design sense, not just a construction of the book sense, to kind of move the eye through the artwork. Because on that book, it's kind of all over the place. On the poem book, which
this is Miggy Mouse's Sweet and Treats. It's even kind of hard to read the title, and the black and the red mixed together.
Yeah, so it's kind of got dirty printing, and I think this is a predecessor to the PPPPMMHHSSS. But it's also got a bunch of cutouts, and it's quite brilliant in the way it does it. It's the order of it is page 1 and 2, and page 2 is half folded in on itself. It has 1, 2, 3. The lines of poetry are numbered, but on the other side of page 2, the part that's folded, there's 4 and 5, and then you unfold that, and there's 6, 7, and then you're kind of at the center page, there's 6 and 7, and at the bottom there's 14, 15. But it means that after 6 and 7 I have to open up the center of the center page, which opens vertically, to reveal everything between 7 and 13, or 7 and 14. Basically 8 through 13 is on the inside. And although it's a brilliant illustration and really does use the space well.
Yeah, and it's Mickey Mouse's face.
Yeah.
With the nose popping out and the ears kind of
popping back.
Concave.
Yeah. It's quite brilliant, but why do we have to have 6, 7, 14, 15? That one just seems like a little bit of a miss to me. So there's a little bit of guidance that the reader needs for some of this stuff, and he doesn't always provide it, so you're kind of stuck figuring your way out through the book. Although this book as well, I thought, was a brilliant bit of construction.
Yeah, the construction is great, just the style of the art needs a little something.
And also today we read 3 of his books, and so the first one I read was the PPPMMHHHSSS, and that was kind of crazy. And then the Miggy Mouse's Sweets and Treats I read, and then finally I got to the really small one.
Yeah, I believe this was a freebie, if I remember right.
Okay. What is the title of this?
I don't know. It just has his name on it, A.T. Pratt.
Yeah.
And then it says F-U-M, Fumetti. It's just Fumetti down here at the bottom.
Yeah, but I don't think it is a Fumetti. But
it's not made of photos. No, it's drawn.
Yeah. By the time I got to this one, I was like, oh, what the fuck ever. Although the center spread I thought was kind of cute.
And this is just like a piece of copy paper that's been cut and folded into a booklet, and yeah, you open it up and it's kind of a circular illustration going like within a building, different floors of a building.
Yeah, it kind of has a Mad Magazine sense to it. Circle of life. Man runs out the elevator, grabs a bunch of food, falls over, breaks through the panels, falls through floors, and falls all the way to the bottom. Gets to the stairs, climbs his way up, works really hard, gets very thin as he gets to the top, and repeats the same action. Yeah, it's a collection of one-page comics, but I mean, some of these I'm just like, what? What the fuck ever.
Yeah, well, this one that kind of pops out at me is a man and a woman, and the guy opens his mouth and a frog crawls out of his mouth into her mouth.
Isn't that the way you do?
I guess so.
Okay, anyway. Yeah, what I'm saying is that I think you need a little bit of space in between his books, because each one is kind of a feast for the eyes and a punch in the senses. So you need to spend a little time with it. You need to kind of pull back and think about it. And then you can possibly reset yourself, get ready for the next one. But if you read them all in a row, it's a little too much.
Yeah, it's a bit too much work to read.
Yeah,
because the art is so compacted and so busy.
But man, think what this guy could do with an editor who would be like, oh look man, that's a crazy idea, I love it, but I don't understand it. Make me understand it. He had that hurdle to kind of get over.
Yeah.
It might make his work a little bit more accessible. But on the other hand, there is something so manic about the whole endeavor that it's kind of endearing, even though it's really hard to read, even though it burns my retinas. So I don't know. Maybe it even though I would like a little bit of a change here, I'd like a little more clarity, maybe that's not the point. Maybe, in fact, he does need to stay crazy. I don't know.
Maybe so. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, I'll put whatever links I can find up, and if I can't find enough links, I'll take photos and put those up myself. And if you'd like us to critique your comic, send a PDF or a link to mail@deconstructingcomics.com. Send us your best 30 pages. And if we like it, we'll want to read more. So, till next time, this is Tim.
And Mulele.
Thanks for listening to Critiquing Comics. Check the show notes for links to both of these books. And I did take some photos of the A.T. Pratt books to put on the website, so go to deconstructingcomics.com and check the show notes there. Also, if you're our Patreon supporter at any amount, you can see some photos of the park where we recorded this episode at patreon.com/deconcomics.